think of phrases that have questions and phrases that have responses. And that's how I think of this mazurka. You can think of it in 2 measures plus 2 measures. And also the mazurka rhythm is where you don't have the accent on the first beat, but sometimes you have the accent on the second beat. Sometimes you have the accent on the third beat as well. But in this one, let's see where the accents fall. So you start with a question. There's that emphasis. Answer. Now also what figures into this mazurka is appoggiaturas. And those are notes that are upper neighbors that fall down a step. They can also be lower neighbors that go up a step. And you lean on them. In this case, what you heard in the second measure was leaning on the second beat, which had the upper neighbor, the E, falling down to the D. And then in the answer, you had the D falling down to the C. So there's the relationship to the appoggiaturas. In other words, you need also destinations when you play. Where am I going? So for me, I'm going to the first appoggiatura, this one, and then later I'm going resolve. So that gives me the mazurka rhythm right there, the emphasis there on the second beat, without punching it really, but leaning more on it. Now this first note, this is another interesting thing. The pickup to the E, it's a dotted quarter. And I always tell students, when you go from a faster note value to a slower one, especially here, you don't want to go charging in to that E, because if you played on the violin, you would delay the bow on the E, and you had some vibrato. So on the piano, I tender it in such a way that I don't accelerate into that note, but in fact, I think I'm going into the honey and extracting that note out of the depths of that, we'd say, density. So I think right away of that too, like that. There. Answer. Here's another dotted quarter. So there was my answer. It has a lot of dotted quarters, you notice, followed by 3/8, so I don't go charging into them, but I push into them for the singing tone. And that has an accent, that E. And then an answer, another appoggiatura. There's that appoggiatura, that A going to the G. Now this next part is a variation of what we just heard in 6. And this is very tricky because it's very easy to get trapped in the 6th and not get the definition of the trill here. It's a little ornament. What I would do first is go on the top voice. Now what I do here is I do 3-5-3, 2-5-4. So I do this. And here again you go into the appoggiatura. So you're doing a little bit of a springboard to there. This is just the top voice. Now I do my answer. And here goes to there. Fall down. All it is parallel 6 now, which make it difficult to do that ornament. So I like to just isolate the top so that I don't get jammed into the bottom voice, which is thumbs. When the thumbs get tight, then you don't feel the individuation of the top voice, where you can just relax. And then this. That's the fingering I choose to do on that. To do this. And that way you think your thumbs are very light and they're coming out of the wrist. So let's see if we can do it slowly and try to get that appoggiatura, which was, and then, so we get this. So, there, appoggiatura, answer, delay that, and to there, less. And here we have a trill. So going to the second beat, and downbeat. Has a little spike mark on that downbeat, but really going to the second beat is what you're doing there according to the mazurka. And here too. Now, to there, yum, to there, and to phrase that. And it's also double F, so it should be quite big. And it says a little bit of stretch. Now this next section, after you do this bit of stretch at that cadence, it says odd tempo, and I don't think I would do much fussing. So there is that leaning again toward the second beat. Now we're back to this. There, appoggiatura answer. To there. Appoggiatura again, fall down. Now there. Answer. There. Tempo, but it gives you the idea of where are you going, where are your destinations, where are these appoggiaturas, where are the answers to the first appoggiatura. There's another one in terms of 2-measure blocks, and where are the middle section, what are you doing with that. So this is basically how it works. This is a very tricky mazurka. It's really, for me, phrasing it is very tricky.